Hey guys, it's great to be back. I hope you guys are having a great week. Sorry I took a little bit of a hiatus. It's been about 2 weeks since the last video, which was just a short. I went on vacation to see my grandparents. They're getting up there in the age, so I want to spend as much time as possible with them. And I also started my master's thesis, which is taking a lot of time. Hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit more of these videos out in the future. I'm not sure how long the breaks between videos will be. It really depends upon how busy I am with my master's thesis. But today I have a perspective deck profile for you guys, to say the least. I've been testing on EDO Pro against OCG allowed cards, and I've been testing against Splight and Tearlaments, and this deck actually does pretty good against it, and that is actually BA. I built a specific deck profile for it to be able to combat those two decks, since those will be the most represented decks next format most likely. However, we don't know if Splight's going to be tier 0 as it was in the OCG, or we don't know if it's going to be tier 1 or 1.5. We know when the Ishizu cards come out that Tearlaments is definitely going to be up there. It's going to be in tier 1, or it even might be tier 0. So this deck profile is to combat when that time comes. BA has a lot of plays that they can go through. Every BA can special summon itself from the hand. However, it won't get its second effect because you can only use one of the effects per turn. And also, if a BA is summoned and you have a non-BA on the field, they self-destruct, which can also trigger your BA effects if you like normal summon a Farfa and you have like a IP Masquerade on the field. The Farfa will destroy itself and then be able to give off the effect of banishing one of their monsters temporarily. The fact that the BAs can trigger themselves like that, they also can special summon themselves from the hand. They're all level 3s. You can make some powerful rank 3XZs. Usually just make Dante, and then you just go into Dante, Mill, then you summon out Seer, go into IP Masquerena, Seer Dante chain, and then you bring Dante back out, use the Seer that you added back to your hand off Dante, and make a Beatrice. However, with the fact that Beatrice is in the format, it's pretty good because you can dump some really good stun cards, to say the least. You can dump Fairy Tale Snow. You can actually dump Token Collector to stop the Sword Soul matchup. And I even have a spicy tech, and I sold this one from Farfa, and that's actually dumping Galaxy Cyclone because of the fact that we have Mystic Mine in the format. We may be having a ban list in a few weeks. I think the last time I checked the ban list website, it said sometime in December we're going to get the ban list, but that would have been a 6-month ban list, and that's like extremely long for Konami. I don't think they've done that in years. But if we get one very soon, hopefully Mystic Mine is on that list. If that's the case, I could probably take out the Galaxy Cyclone and put in something else, like maybe another like one-of that's powerful. But the deck's really good, has a lot of play-through potential, and also has some pretty good board breaking. I don't own access code, so I substitute that with a Boral Sword, but you can actually swap the Boral Sword for the access code. It just makes your lines a little bit easier, because sometimes you might go like Nightmare Unicorn, and on the follow-up you'll have a Tour Guide. And then you'll have to summon out Tour Guide, and then a BA. The only issue is the fact that you can't make Boral Sword because it requires 3 monsters, and it would treat that Nightmare Unicorn as a Link 1 because you can't, it's either a 3 or a 1. Which is the only issue that I've seen coming up. You guys would probably want to play the access code instead because that makes it much easier. You just normal summon Tour Guide, special summon Seer, use Seer plus the Nightmare Unicorn, make access code, summon back Dante, and then you have the Tour Guide, and you can just do all these different things. But I'll get right into the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy, and you guys can use this hopefully in your locals, or you can use it in the regionals that are coming up. I think there's one coming up soon down here in Florida. I may be wrong. I think it's for the Power of the Elements release set sometime in September. I may be wrong. But I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. So we're going to start off with our BA lineup. We're going to be running 3 Graph, we're going to be running 3 Seer, we're going to be running 3 Skarn, and then we're going to be running 3 Farfa. This is pretty much the standard package. Some people run 2 Farfa. I think 3 is good in the grind game, especially since this deck has a great grind game. Even going second, you can kind of like go through a lot of stuff. It has a hard time OTKing in my opinion, but it's really good going first, setting up a good stun board and going through your plays. You know what it does if you've played BA. If you don't, what Seer does is you can special a BA in your graveyard and be able to Monster Reborn it basically. Graph specials a BA from your deck to the field. Farfa, if he goes to the graveyard, he temporarily banishes a monster on the field. And then Skarm during the end phase allows us to add a level 3 Fiend Dark monster, I believe. Yeah, Dark Fiend type. So you can usually use your Skarm as follow-up to be able to get a tour guide. Other than these like main 12, these are like the best ones that you want to see. However, you don't usually want to be able to special summon Graph or Seer off their effects. If anything, you want to like special Farfa and then like a normal Graph. I would say that's the best way to do it, or special Skarm. You never want to really special the Graph or the Seer. It makes it difficult to be able to do your plays, because if you special the Graph, you don't have a way to special summon a monster from your deck, which usually would be the Seer, so you have to rely on dumping like a Seer to be able to special summon a Graph, but then you can't do the Dante combo for Beatrice, which is the only issue. Other than these 12, we're also going to be running 2 Libich. Libich is really good because if it's sent to the graveyard, you can special a level 3 Dark Fiend type monster from your hand, but its effects are negated. The good part about that is the fact that if you have a BA in hand, and Libich goes to the grave, you can special the BA, and if you have a non-BA on the field, it won't self-destruct because its effects are negated. It's kind of similar to summoning off Tour Guide. If you Tour Guide for a Graph or a Seer, then it won't explode because its effects are negated. I like Libich at 2. It's probably the best secondary BA other than like the main 4, which is Skarm, Seer, Graph, and Farfa. We're also running 3 more BAs just for the names. We're running a Barbar, we're running an Alich, and a Calcab. Barbar burns for time, to say the least, so what you can do is, if he's sent to the graveyard, you can banish up to 3 BAs, including himself, and then burn for 300 each. So you can burn for 900, it helps in games, kind of like a Gaga Cowboy, to say the least. Then we also have Alich. If Alich is sent to the grave, you can target a face-up monster on the field, negate its effects until the end of the turn. The biggest issue with the fact of having Alich is it doesn't stop ignition effects. If anything, it stops activated effects. So if they were to XZ into a gigantic Splight, what you can do is activate your Beatrice, dump Alich, and because gigantic Splight is not an ignition effect and it's not a quick effect, you can activate Alich in the grave and negate the gigantic Splight so they can't summon a level 2 from their deck, which is pretty good. And then Calcab just targets a set spell and trap card on the field, returns it to the hand. There's not a lot of back row decks. I just run the Calcab because it's a name. Other than that, we're running 17 BAs. We're running the 3 Skarm, 3 Farfa, 3 Seer, 3 Graph, 2 Libich, the 1 Barbar, the 1 Alich, and the 1 Calcab. You want to be able to see at least 2 BAs in your opening hand. However, I would say you don't want to see Graph and Seer in your opening hand because that means you would have to special summon one of them, shutting off your combo lines. Then we have our honorary BAs. We have 2 Tour Guide. You don't play 3. Tour Guide is a follow-up card. Unfortunately, with this upcoming meta, I would say that Imperm and Effect Veiler are going to be really good. Same, and Ash is always good. If you normal summon a Tour Guide and its effect gets negated, you can't special a BA anymore because of the fact that it would explode if it summons itself, which kind of sucks. So Tour Guide isn't a good first turn play. Only if you have like nothing else, you just normal summon the Tour Guide and then hope it doesn't get Ash or something like that. And then other than that, we're running 2 Fiendish Rhino Warrior. You could bump it down to 1. I think 2 is fine at the moment. It says Fiend monsters you control except Fiendish Rhino Warrior cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard except Fiendish Rhino Warrior. It's a good normal summon. Usually what you would do is you could summon that off Tour Guide also. If you normal summon a Fiendish Rhino Warrior and it doesn't get impermed or droplets, or if you're going second, or like Effect Veilered, then what you can do is you can special summon any of your BAs, and this kind of acts like a... It's basically like a Foolish for Graph, to say the least, which is pretty nice. I only run 2 because I think 3 is a little bit bricky. You don't want to see more than 1 in your opening, and sometimes you don't even want to see it, because if it does get impermed, then you have the same issue with Tour Guide because you can't summon a BA because it will self-destruct, which is the only issue. But those are like all of our honorary BAs. We're playing 19 basically main deck monsters. 19? No, we're playing... So that was 17. We're playing 21, like main deck monsters that help us in our BA lines. And now we're going to be able to get off into our power cards in a sense. We're going to be running 3 Forbidden Chalice. I'm running the Chalice to be able to bait out Toad. You can also, unfortunately, it'll sometimes bait out the Carrot if they have it on the field. It's pretty good also going first because you can set it, which is not bad. If I had Droplets, I probably would put Droplets in this, because Droplets could dump your BAs and be able to trigger your BA effects. Unfortunately, Droplets is still really expensive, so I'm running Chalice as the substitute for right now. Still gets the job done, it's just not as good in this deck. I'm also running 3 Imperms. Same thing as like a Chalice. What I can do is I can bait out stuff with Imperms and Chalice. If I open like 2 Chalices, 1 Imperm, and then I open like a Fiendish Rhino plus Scarm or something like that, I can bait out 3 negates basically, and then go into my BA line, and I'll have full BA line off of that because of the Fiendish Rhino plus Dante. You can also very easily make Zeus in this deck, which is pretty sick because that's your boss monster to say the least. We're also running 3 Ash Blossom, so these are kind of like, we're running 3 hand traps in a sense, or 6 hand traps, and we're running a pseudo going first and good going second card. I could run like a Dark Ruler next format, but I'm not sure yet. If anything, what you could do is you could side the Chalice for Dark Ruler in game 2, and you could side like the Ash or something for like Lightning Storm or something. But those are like our hand traps that we're going to be running. We're going to be running double Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is nuts in this deck. It's a free draw too. Most of the time, you won't get super unlucky and banish 3 Graph or 3 Seer. If you do, you're kind of out of luck, to say the least. I haven't had that experience yet. And we're also running enough BAs to be able to afford running the Pot of Desires and not have to worry about banishing all of them. Free draw 2. Great card. Helps us be able to even just go first or second and get our combo pieces. Then we're going to be going off into the 1-ofs. We're going to be running a 1-of Foolish Burial. It's evident why you're going to be playing this. You would just be able to dump Graph, special summon Seer, do your things. Running Called By, because unfortunately, deck loses to Ash at times. It hits all the hand traps, and also if you bait the Toad negate, if they try to elf it back with the Sprite Elf, you can just call by the Toad, so they won't be able to get that back, which is pretty nice. In addition, it's also good to get in the Tear Element matchup because I'm pretty sure you can just banish the Tear that's activating its effect, which causes it to not resolve, which is pretty cool. We're running the 1-of Galaxy Cyclone. The first effect doesn't matter. I never activate it where you target a set spell and trap on the field and destroy it. If it's in your hand, you better be lucky, to say the least. If they set a card, then good, because there's no way else to get this into the graveyard that I can think of other than maybe like a Nightmare Unicorn, which is not bad in that sense. And then what you can also do is dump this off Beatrice if they activate Mystic Mine. So you would activate, if they would activate Mystic Mine, you would say, okay, Beatrice Chainlink 2, because you can still respond since it hasn't resolved. Dump Galaxy Cyclone. And at that point they realize, well, if I don't out their board right now, then I lose next turn because the Galaxy Cyclone will be able to get rid of my Mystic Mine, which is a conundrum. I saw this on like one of the Farfa videos and I really enjoyed running it. I've had it happen where you can pop the Mystic Mine. The only issue against it right now is the fact that like Sky Striker runs 3 Mystic Mine, 3 Terraforming, 3 Demise of the Land, and like a Metaverse. So unfortunately, if they have multiple ways to get into the Mystic Mine, this 1-of spell and trap removal ain't gonna help, which is the only problem that I have. But other than that, it comes in clutch in like a grind game also, because sometimes you just mill it off Dante and be able to pop one of their like field spells or something like that. We're also running a 1-of Fairy Tale Snow. They're running a 1-of Token Collector. Snow is amazing. If you mill it off Dante, or you can send it off Beatrice, it's basically just a Book of Moon every single turn. Usually your BAs are dead in the grave. The only ones you care about are the Seer and the Dante. So you can banish like the Scarms that you've used up, you can banish the Farfas that you've used up, you can banish the Graphs that you've used up, and also all the spells and whatnot, like you banish the Pot of Desires for Snow, and then be able to summon Snow, it's an 1850 beat stick, which is pretty cool. It's a Book of Moon, and then it also gives you some extension being able to go into your higher link monsters. And then Token Collector is obvious. I run the 1-of for the Sword Soul matchup at the moment. Not sure how important Sword Soul will be next format. It could be pretty strong. It could not. It really depends on if we get a ban list and they hit Mo Yi or the Emergence. And if it falls out of favor for the Splight and the Tear, then you could probably just side the Token Collector and get rid of it, and then put in something like, I don't know. You could put in more hand traps if you wanted to. Right now we're at 37 cards, and this one tech card is what's hopefully going to win me most of my games. Online on EDO, it's won me a lot because people just can't deal with it at the moment if you're going first. And that is actually 3 Mask Change 2s. Mask Change 2 allows you to discard a card, then target one face-up monster you control that has a level and send it to the grave. After that, if it left the field by this effect, special summon from your extra deck one masked hero with the same attribute but a higher level than the monster with the same attribute. And basically what it does, to keep it short, if I was to normal summon Farfa and I had like a Fiendish Rhino in hand or something like that, what you could do is just normal summon Farfa, end your turn. On your opponent's turn, if this is set, activate your Mask Change 2, discarding the Fiendish Rhino. Then you would swap your Farfa into, and it would go to the grave, you would swap it into Masked Hero Darklaw. And then Darklaw is basically Macrocosmos, and if they add a card to their hand, except by drawing, you get to banish one random card from their opponent's hand. So basically, then it also triggers the Fiendish Rhino and it triggers the Farfa. Farfa gets the temporary banish. Fiendish Rhino can dump a Scarm, and then you could have Tour Guide follow up for the next turn and be able to basically OTK on turn 3, which is pretty cool. Darklaw is nuts, I'd say, in this format, especially because of the fact that it shuts off the Tier Element matchup. The only way that they can kind of out your board is if they have like a Dark Ruler or an Imperm or Chalice or Droplets, but they have to open up the board breakers in order to out your Darklaw. Not to mention, you might have monsters more than just like Darklaw in the field. You may be able to have like a Beatrice plus like a Cherubini or something like that on the field. So they have to out both of those also, which can give you like a stun matchup, which is pretty cool. I think Darklaw and Mask Change 2 is definitely going to be a staple next format against a lot of decks. And hopefully it outs kind of the Splight matchup, to say the least. It stops Elf from reviving, which is pretty cool. Because what would happen if they if they summon blue to add Jet special summon, add Starter, then special summon, then they would have to make Gigantic Splight. And if they make Gigantic Splight, then what would happen is if they detach, the monster gets banished by Darklaw. They would get the special summon of, say, a Toad, but Toad can't dump anything because it would banish it off Darklaw. And they can't really do anything with Elf because of the fact that Elf would cause materials to get banished because you're linking off, those would get banished, and you have nothing monster born with Elf. My only problem is the fact that Darklaw is 24 at the moment, so it's 2400 attack, which means that Gigantic Splight can actually beat over this. So what would happen is they would go into Gigantic Splight if they can, and then just basically beat over the Darklaw, because Gigantic Splight is, I believe, 3200 when it has the like material. I don't remember if it has two level 2s, it gets double the attack, or if it has a Link monster as a material, it gets double the attack. I think it might be the Link monster, but I'm not sure at the moment. I forget. If that's the case, then they basically can't go into Gigantic Splight, or they would have to waste all their resources being able to go into Link and then having another level 2 to be able to go into Gigantic Splight, which means they have to open like a level 2 plus like a Nimble Beaver or something like that, which is not hard, but it basically forces them to go down one combo line, which means that you can predict what's going to happen next and then they have to out it. I think Darklaw is definitely what's going to make this deck go off in the future format. We'll see when Power of the Elements comes out and the representation of it, but let's also get into the rest of the extra deck. As you can see, I'm running Darklaw. I actually run 2 because I don't want to I'm running 3 Mass Change 2s. Dark Law is a 2400 beater, and it can also trigger your BA's effects by discarding. In the old BA build where you were just doing like discard traps like Fiend Griefing, Divine Wrath, stuff like that, it was really good to be able to discard your BAs and hands to trigger their effects. Unfortunately, the trap version is way too slow right now, but Mass Change 2 is pretty good in being able to do the same exact thing. It's a good going first card. Going second, it's alright. You can still make a 2400 off of any of your BAs and trigger your BA effects, which is pretty cool. However, it kind of kills your combo lines because then you can't summon out your BAs normally because then they would self-destruct off of your Dark Law. So you have to kind of judge what you're going to be doing, and if you want to shut off your BAs, or if you want to be able just to keep up your like Dark Law stun. We're running another fusion monster that's going to be the Purple Dante, which is Dante Pilgrim of the Burning Abyss. What it does is basically it floats off of Beatrice. If Beatrice gets destroyed, then you can go into the Purple Dante. What it does is you can discard a BA card from your hand to the grave and draw 1 card. It will trigger your BA effects, so you can basically discard Farfa. Farfa will go off and you'll also draw the 1. And then if this card is basically sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can, or if it's sent by battle, you can send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. So these are kind of like hand rips, which is pretty cool. It's also kind of hard to get over 2800. Basically, the only way that your the splites can get over this stuff is with the gigantic splite. So if you can stop them from being able to get into that, then most of the time they won't be able to beat over your monsters and they'll lose. We're going to go off into our Link monsters. We're going to be running 1 Cherubini. We're going to be running 1 IP Masquerena. We're going to be running 1 Topologic Trispania, a Unicorn, and a Boral Sword. Boral Sword I'd swap out for access code if you have it. I'm running the Topologic Trispania to be able to have more back row removal, because what you can do is you can link 3 into the Trispania, then special a BA. The BA successfully hits the field, which causes the Trispania to actually go off, and also your BA would self-destruct. And then the Trispania will basically banish as many spell and traps on the field, so you can use that against like an Eldritch matchup to like banish all their stuff, which is pretty cool. Unicorn's obvious. What you would do is you would use your IP and your Beatrice to go into your Unicorn, discard Seer, and then Monster Reborn Dante, which is pretty nice. In addition, we're also running the Cherubini. Cherubini helps push for game. It's a Link 2, which requires 2 level 3 monsters, and it sends a level 3 monster from your deck to the grave. And then what you can and then it boosts the attack of a BA based upon the attack and defense of the monster that is sent, which is cool. It's only 500, and it also gives protection against like card destruction. I believe if a monster, it says, sorry, I'm reading. Monster discard point 2 cannot be destroyed by card effects. If this card would be destroyed by battle or opponent's card effects, you can send one of the card you control to the graveyard instead. So if he would be destroyed, you can send another card to basically protect him. And then also your BAs, as long as they're pointing under the arrows, they won't get destroyed by their own card effects. So you can actually put your non-BAs on the field, like a Dark Law, go into like a Cherubini off of a Tour Guide plus like a Seer. And then what you can do is use the Seer effect to summon out like a Graph or something else, or like a Dante, or just any of your BAs that would just self-destruct, which is pretty nice. It comes up in a lot of matchups. I've used it quite a bit to be able to climb into the Boral Sword, which is cool. That's the main reason, because I don't have access code, so I think this is pretty good for the Link monsters. Then for our XZs, we're going to be running double Dante. 3 is too much. I feel like 2 is more than enough in this format, especially because most of the time you can't be able to get into like a long grind game, so I think 2 Dante is fine. People are dumb and they think that Dante's mill is an effect. It turns out it's a cost, so if you summon out Dante and they imperm you or chalice you or droplets you, it's funny because then you can just say, okay, Dante effect, detach 1, mill 3, and the attack gain is what's actually the effect, which is pretty cool. Also, Dante has a thing where if he attacks, then he turns himself to defense afterwards. Don't forget that, it's mandatory. We're also running 1 Downerd Magician. It's the XZ rank up for Dante, and then we're also running a Fortune Tune. Fortune Tune gives us protection from battle and card effects, because this card can't be targeted on the field with card effects, and if this card would be destroyed by battle or card effects, we can detach 1 material from this card instead. And then also, once per turn during your standby, gain 500 life points, and if this card's sent from the field to the graveyard, target 2 level 3 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them both into the deck, and if you do, return this card from your graveyard to the extra deck. So he kind of floats himself back to the extra and then recycles your BAs, which is pretty nice. He's also, basically what you can do is if you have something that can't be battled into, like it's too big, exile into Fortune Tune, attack, detach to protect itself, and then what you can do is you can make a 2 material Zeus. Running 1 Beatrice, if it was at multiples of, like if it wasn't at 1, I'd run 3 of these things, and they're really good. And then we're also running 2 Zeus, which is the boss monster of the deck. You can oftentimes make a Zeus turn 3, and then if you get into a long grind game, you can make another Zeus later on. And Zeus is just the boss monster of the deck. You just wipe the field. Most of the time, if you have like a Dante with 2 materials and that you can battle into something, like that's defense, you can just attack with Dante, rank up into Downer, make a format Zeus, and then the Zeus will trigger your Dante and like a Seer that's underneath it, and it's just nuts. But that's the deck profile. I think that this will be pretty good when it comes to next format, especially with the testing that I've done. There's a lot of good anti-meta cards, especially with the Mass Change 2, and especially with the tailored extra deck and what we're running. You can probably swap a few things around. I know that Farfa was running Grave of the Super Ancient Organism. I don't think that's going to be too important next format, since Despia is probably going to be going down in representation, and Sword Soul if it gets hit on the ban list. And it won't do anything against your Splight or Tear matchup, really. It may impact the Tear matchup because of Winda and like a Dragostapelia, but beyond that, I would say that this is probably one of the better like builds of the deck right now currently, especially from going into the next format. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys got some information from this, and I'll see you in the next video. Hope you guys have a great week. See you later.